Good morning, everyone. If I could ask you to take your seats, we will get started. Perfect. Good morning. My name's Camille Maben. I'm with First Five California, and I have the honor of being your MC today for the second day of great conversations for the water cooler. So first of all, I hope for those of you who were here yesterday, you had an opportunity to have a great evening with good friends. I know many of you were headed back to your rooms to do work, which is a sad statement about all of us, isn't it? So, because we did the same thing. But anyway, I hope you had an opportunity to see a little bit of Sacramento. I am happy to report there is no grandbaby. So hopefully we get through today, and then I just have to get through a First Five Commission meeting, and I am good. So anyway, we yesterday had an opportunity to learn about national landscape of childcare. We heard about that. We heard some of our gubernatorial candidates, a couple of them. We heard Assemblymember Thurman's insight and ideas for long-term strategies to close the opportunity gap that for our kids. And so it was really a great day. Some of the comments I heard from folks after at the reception were, you know, we're pumped up. This is good. We're jazzed. We're going to go, which is great. So I know that will carry on today. We have a few agenda updates for you. The first one is after the first panel, we are going to, as we did yesterday, kind of do an hour pause in the conference to have extended conversations with gubernatorial candidates Antonio Villaraigosa and Gavin Newsom. So as we did yesterday, we'll just pause, we'll go do that. You're not gonna leave the room, so you don't have to go anywhere else. And then we'll resume the water cooler. And so you have an extra agenda that you were given yesterday, so you'll wanna refer to that for that part of the morning. And then we'll resume the conference with an infant toddler panel, and who doesn't want to talk about that? Who doesn't want to talk about those babies? But again, everything's going to be in this room, so we don't need to go anywhere else. So it's a very exciting morning. And rather, as staff planned this, rather than taking breaks, scheduled breaks, we just invite you to take a break when you need throughout the morning. So our afternoon schedule will be pushed back about 10 minutes, and there will be a break between the last two panels, and that'll stay the same. So we will end on time, it says. I always think that's a worthy goal. We will end on time, so all good. So with that, I have the pleasure of introducing Vickie Ramos Harris, who is the Associate Director of Educational Equity, focused on education policy at the Advancement Project, California. She leads early childhood policy and advocacy in Los Angeles and across California, and works to increase educational equity in the public education system, including supporting the diverse needs of our English learners and communities of color. So Vickie is going to come up. She's going to be in charge of the first panel this morning. So she's here because I've seen her, and there she is, ready to go. Please welcome Vickie Ramos Harris.
Good morning. Buenos dias. How's everyone feeling this morning? Really? That much energy? How's everyone feeling this morning? All right. That's more like it. Okay. Good morning. Buenos dias. I'm Vickie Ramos Harris with Advancement Project California. And I am really excited to help kick off this morning's water cooler. I'd like to start off by sharing a little bit about my Grandpa Lupe. When my Grandpa Lupe became an American citizen, with a grin on his face and a twinkle in his eye, I looked into his big brown eyes, and he said, "Do you see my blue eyes? Do you see my American eyes?" And I started laughing. He was so proud to be an American citizen. And I said, "Sí, Grandpa, yo veo a sus ojos azules." So I was reflecting on his journey, on his successes, on his sacrifices, on his love and hopes for his family. I reflected on how all that journey and all that he's done has served as a very important foundation for my generation. A foundation that gave us a value for our cultura, a value for our language, our value for our Mexican heritage, a value for our love of our country, the United States, a value for justice, for using our voice to advocate for ourselves and for others. So that's part of his legacy. I lost him about a year and a half ago. So he's with me here today. So fast forward to 1996. That was the first year that I read the work of Dr. Jeannie Oakes on educational tracking. I learned about how some students are put on a path to college, and that too often our Black and brown students are not. I became enraged. I then began to reflect on the educational tracking in my family, in my life, in my community. And I became even more enraged. And that gave me a different kind of version of my Grandpa Lupe's twinkle in my eye, and that has really driven my work. So in my years of work with K-12 students, it's been evident that kids flounder, too many kids flounder, not because they don't have the smarts or potential, but because some students face extra barriers, a lack of or low expectations. We can have a very narrow view of success or what student achievement looks like, and we are not fully leveraging the assets and gifts of our students. So, for example, take my baby brother, Tim. He was Timmy when he was little, now he's Tim. He is one of the most brilliant people I know. Today he works on innovative technology for Caltech, for the aerospace industry, for Disneyland, lots of cool stuff that he does. He's in the trades. And he has the highest certification that he can get in his field. He does extremely complicated math. He does that math generally all in his head. He clearly has a mind for math and engineering. Yet in high school, he failed algebra 3 times, and he went to a lot of summer school. So there must have been a better way to leverage his gifts and talents. Another example comes from the work of Dr. Kathy Escamilla. She shows writing samples of English learners who use a mix of English and Spanish in their writing. So if you base their grades and their achievement on their English, they would fail. But if you really read their ideas that they are conveying when they string together the 2 languages that they have, you can see clear evidence of comprehension, of coherent ideas, and critical thinking. So clearly there's a more expansive way that we can define progress and achievement. And there's a way that we can uplift the talents of our students. I know there's a better way that we can support students to thrive, no matter their zip code. We can do better than the maps that we saw from yesterday with Rashid and John Kim. So in 2009, looking for answers, I came to the water cooler for the first time. I was at the time working for LA Unified School Board Vice President Yoli Flores, and it was she that turned opened my eyes to the importance of early care and education. But it was actually in this very room that I heard about the neuroscience on early childhood education for the first time with these fresh ears. Hearing from researchers, from advocates, from policy leaders, from the field, it really began to sink in. ECE, early childhood, really must be at the center of every education policy solution that we think up to ensure student success. It's a no-brainer. We know this. So I joined the ECE advocacy space that year, in fact. I learned about the importance of partnerships to support our policymakers to be the ECE champions we know they can be. We just haven't got to all of them yet. I've learned about the power of building pilots and models to learn from, elevating best and promising practices, and how essential it is to bring the voices of the field to Sacramento and to create space for community-based policymaking. For 10 years, the Birth to 5 Water Cooler Conference has convened ECE stakeholders from across the state to vet ideas for policy, for practice, to build cohesion for a state agenda for our kids. We have increased access to early learning through transitional kindergarten and expanded TK. Together, we have made ECE a legislative priority. We have advocated successfully to get state budget investments for ECE. We have worked to increase access, affordability, and quality. We have built and continue to develop our quality rating and improvement system. We finally have 12-month eligibility for families, and we have made a lot of progress on other fronts. That is you. That is the work from this room. So there's still much work to do, but collectively, we have built momentum for ECE. We have built a strong foundation for our work ahead. And the impact of these discussions goes way beyond the walls of this room. Advancement Project California is working with its partners, many of you, to eradicate the barriers for student success, expanding and refining how we define quality and student success, and building a system that fully leverages the assets of our students. Our work at Advancement Project is to create and advocate for educational equity, to be unapologetic for the need to focus on racial equity, to uplift the voices that are not always heard and bring them to the forefront. So I'm excited about what our work is here. I'm excited to bring the voices of the community to our policy initiatives, which is deepening our work on infants and toddlers, and it's elevating the needs and the assets of our dual language learners. With the rich diversity that we have in our state, California is in a unique position to lead what it means to provide quality early care and education that sets a strong foundation for student success and that builds on the cultural and linguistic assets of our families. Educational equity is about providing tools for young people to reach their highest potential, not just to get a good job, but so that they have their own version of that twinkle in their eye, and that they become the leaders of our nation and shape the world. So thank you for all the work that you all have done to make this reality one for our youngest learners. Thank you.